Talking about mental health, we, as Muslims, we can't do away with talking about how the best of Allah's creation dealt with mental health.
Sallallahu
Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Because if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells him that وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ, you are an exalted character, that would mean that his character is well, that it is at an exemplary level. لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. He is an uswa. It means that if we take a model from him, from the way he lived his physical life, because even people who were running away from marriage, from a physical perspective, he told them, please, I'm more religious than you, I marry too. So if we are trying to be like him from a physical point of view, we are trying to be like him in a spiritual point of view, why wouldn't we look at trying to be like him from a mental point of view?
Now, I think when you talk about the Prophet's mental health, it opens a door to going through some of his traumatizing experiences.
Yeah, and of course it is, we can't fall short of listing the traumatizing experiences the Prophet went through, from the losing of all his children, except for Fatima. He buried all of them.
Yeah, and actually the society, the pagans were like, Prophet was abtar, literally meaning
Batara Muhammad.
Exactly.
That is another again traumatizing situation, that his next door neighbor, Abu Lahab, who not only is the next door neighbor, he is the uncle of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He doubles as the uncle. He is family and he is neighbor. But if he's finding he's deriving happiness from the Prophet's loss, that is double trauma.
Yeah,
he is traumatized.
And this basically means for a parent to lose all his kids and they're still alive, it is not something simple and serious to go through.
Not something simple.
Too traumatizing.
Even in the beginning, the genesis of his message in Islam, when he was trying to preach to people, look at the very people who disowned him first, his own family members. Being disowned by your people, that you even reach an extent of seeking for refuge elsewhere. You are not seeking refuge from your enemy, from someone you do not know, from a stranger. You're seeking refuge. You are running away from your own people, like immigrants from Makkah to Medina. That is another traumatizing situation.
And I think it really hits different when you talk about someone being forced to be alone, even with presence of people around them. Yeah, because you can literally be alone, and because you're alone literally, that hits different. But it hits hard when you're alone, forced to be alone, even
in the presence of people. That is,
so it turns out being traumatizing too to the Prophet. So whatever we're discussing right now, we're just trying to cite out of the story of the Prophet.
Look at even the support he had solicited. He had support, financial support, emotional support through the wife Khadija, and then security, social security from his uncle Abu Talib, and he loses both of them.
Both of them in the same year.
Same week.
Yeah.
The death is 3 days apart. So he loses the wife, he loses the uncle a few days later. Look at, and in the very same period, same year of course, he goes to this land in Ta'if, where he thinks there is going to be maybe acceptance from those people, and again they stone him, he is pelted, he to the extent that even his shoes are soaked in blood. These are all traumatizing situations.
I don't really think all these situations, of course, if I'm to ask anyone, any Muslim who loves the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, they wouldn't be like he deserved that.
He didn't.
Definitely. What do we learn from that? Because it looks like this is just too much.
Because the issue, not forgetting the social boycott.
Oh yeah.
Boycotted his own clan, his own tribe, says that we are not going to focus on you, we are not going to trade with you, we are not going to marry from you for a period of 3 years.
3 years.
That was just a lot. But the issue is not about the traumatizing situations you went through. Our discussion here, I think, is about how did he cope?
Actually, before we even get to how he did that, we can easily wrap it up with a Quranic verse where Allah was trying to explain to us that was narrated and that was possibly not narrated into what the Prophet went through. Wazulzilu, like what the Prophet used to go through with the companions, zilzala, turbulence, if I'm to say. You get to hardship, you get away from hardship, but probably tomorrow you're going to get to the same hardship, to the level حتى يقول الرسول. The Prophet gets to a point of having a discussion with the companions, Mata Nasrullah, checking out when is Allah going to intervene,
because we are literally doing everything that we can.
Exactly.
When is the help of Allah going to come?
Yeah.
And what does Allah say immediately?
Allah inna nasrallahi qarib.
The help of Allah is so near, near than you can.
And I think this is how the Prophet used to cope up with it.
Yeah. And when you talk about how he dealt with, was the incident of Jibril traumatizing to him the first time he appeared?
Yeah, definitely, because this is the one reason as to why he definitely matched to the wife afterwards, and he was like trying to cry out. It was totally a different,
something I didn't understand.
Yeah, I didn't understand. First of its kind. And it is narrated that Jibril actually appeared in his own original shape. So definitely it was traumatizing, because if it doesn't traumatize a normal human being, then that means you've ever seen it anywhere.
See, even that would easily still be understood from a point that if people were calling him mad, Majnoon, then I believe if it were not for the support he was given through the wife Khadija, he opened up to Khadija. Khadija was like, no, Allah can never forsake you. Allah can never do this to you. You have been so good that he can't punish you this way. If I were to go through the same situation, I would actually think I am mad. Because it is so even when people call me mad, I'm like, yeah, maybe I'm mad, because how many people have received this in my locality? But if now I'm opening up and someone is convincing me that no, this is a blessing, this is something God is not wishing bad
give
for
it
you.
another approach.
Give it another approach. So opening up, I think, is one of the ways the Prophet ﷺ coped.
And actually it even teaches us how beautiful the relationship was. Because when we talked about opening up to the right person, definitely the right person to the Prophet
was the wife
Khadija, without no doubt. Because when we open up the door of talking about Khadija, then it's a whole other story. But I think the Prophet is an example when we are discussing mental health, and we want to actually discuss how he coped up with the situation.
Talking about coping up, the concept of knowing that this is a calamity that has come my way, and sometimes I may lack support from these people near me, and I'm going through this challenge, and I'm crying to God. I'm crying about this issue that has come my way. Like we've discussed that after the loss of his son, I guess Ibrahim, and he started crying, and the companions were like, you are crying, wa anta ya Rasulallah? He said, you also crying? And he says, crying is a mercy of the heart. And we are not la naqul illa ma yurdillah. We are not going to say anything except that which pleases Allah. It means even though we are crying, we need to be in line with what you're doing, because crying is a mercy of the heart.
You're still in check.
You're still in check. So your emotions are put out, your mental health is being leveled up, but at the same time you're not going away from what Allah wants.
And I think the sequencing, the way the Prophet used to go through this, in welcoming it and talking about it, opening it up, finding support from his close own people, and crying out in this case, as a result of endurance is also something.
Because there is a big misconception about people when you talk about endurance and sabr, patience whatsoever. People think waiting is patience. And standing to be corrected is that patience is not waiting. patience, doing whatever you can to say that you go out of that problem is also part of patience. And I guess this is what the Prophet
and actually
was doing.
Patience can also be given another approach. It is the way someone handles themselves at the genesis of whatever has genesis of whatever has happened. So if you're still in check, if a calamity has just stunned you immediately and you're still in check, then chances are high that it won't get you off track when the journey. So how the Prophet used to navigate through these experiences is really a big lesson for everyone.
And the knowledge that he received from Allah that there is positivity after the calamity.
So Allah is also coming in to protect his mental health.
Protecting his mental health. And I think, you see, the Prophet, knowing that his refuge is now with Allah, that he used to stand up at night, seclusion with his Lord, crying to him, Ummati, Ummati, forgive my Ummah, forgive my Ummah. And it is something that he opened up to people, he opened up to Allah. He is teaching people means in how they can cope up with their mental health.
Actually, out of the love that Prophet Muhammad had for us, he actually used to take it as a burden of guilt onto him if at all people don't embrace Islam and don't do what they're supposed to do rightly. And I believe that in a way of Allah protecting his mental health, he never wanted the Prophet to stress a lot into something he doesn't have control over. And that's why the Quranic narration, the Quranic profound verses like,
you have no control over them.
You have no control over them. Just do what you're doing. Find peace in what you're doing, and don't take up the burden if at all they don't embrace what you're doing.
That's not on you, mashallah.
Yeah. So I think as a sheikh, as a leader imam, knowing that as you're trying to say out something, it's not obvious that everyone is going to embrace it and going to welcome it. That in the long run helps your mental health.
Of course, it does not mean neglect.
Definitely.
It means just like the pain was still there, because I don't think Allah was talking about the pain of the Prophet in telling him you're not supposed to feel the pain. He's talking about the pain of the Prophet, saying that of course you're going through pain, but you have nothing to do about it.
That mental illness.
The concept is, of course, we are supposed to be bothered. How do we make our people better? But we are not supposed to be again taken up by it.
By that.
And by so doing,
to a level of getting lost in that.
Is also putting a check to his Prophet's mental health.
So, actually, I've learned something there. When Allah is like, فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي مَن يَشَاءُ, Allah, it's like Allah is taking up the responsibility
of guiding.
Of guiding, definitely. And actually, if it is burden, Allah is taking it off us.
He's in charge, he's in control of that.
It's like you can do everything right, but that doesn't guarantee getting the right outcome. You can do everything wrong, but that doesn't guarantee getting a wrong outcome. So it's like Allah is doing the magic. You can still do whatever you're doing, but Allah is having hidayah. Allah is taking up that role.
And the most profound way in which Allah deals with, to me, deals with the mental health of the Prophet after Amul Huzn, the year of sorrow, losing his most beloved people, rejected by his people, rejected by even people from Ta'if, the close by city. Allah gives him an invitation in a phenomenon known as Mi'raj, invites him to have a discussion. A lot of things were given to the Prophet here on earth, but particularly to console him for whatever he was going through. In other words, all the people that would console you from this situation have now gone away. Please come to my presence.
Would I be wrong if I interpreted that in another way of at least trying to find a peaceful environment as trying to go through the mental health journey? Change of environment, change of behavior, tour around, explore the world, try to find solace in the nature and so on. That contributes a lot.
I think too,
because
most therapists will tell you that.
If the Prophet did that, then probably it would work for us too.
And maybe even when his wives, our mothers, may Allah be pleased with them all, even when our mothers were like trying to front their emotions, with something that would complicate and compromise the mental health
of
the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah is like, let me solve this issue for you.
He kept them in check.
He kept them in check. He put them in check, and they're like, please, please, whatever you're doing, you might be thinking you're fighting for your own emotions, for your own place in his life, but you are bothering him mentally. And
so
Asallahu in talaqakunna ayyubadilahu azwajan. Allah, the Prophet is capable of divorcing all of you and gives you better people. Please come to check yourselves.
So definitely, I'm finding this nice when Allah is actually protecting the Prophet's mental health, and of course we know Allah loves us all.
That is built in the relationship he had with Allah.
Exactly. And I think we need to thank the Prophet for loving us, giving us live examples in his life story. Thank you, the Prophet. And we need to thank Allah for actually loving us too.
Because these stories do not only, of course, this could be therapy itself to some people, and I pray it is, knowing that the Prophet went through all this and eventually...
Talk about being an orphan at early stage. You know what orphans go through as they're going to grow up, and losing important personalities in his life.
And majority of
as a minor,
Makkah Quran is addressing such issues.
Exactly.
رأيت الذي يكذب بالدين فذلك الذي يدعو اليتيم.
It's really nice having the Prophet as the best example, because as someone who is going through some mental health issue, you really have to consider.
And we are still going back to him to study mental health.
Exactly. So, thank you, Allah, for the gift of the Prophet, and thank you for giving him to us as an example.